it's a little grayish. If you look at the stone in this area, in the South Commons here, you probably see it over by Walmart in different areas. There's a reddish tinge to it. That's iron. That's the iron oxide. So it wasn't as good a quality as the stone that you would get in the North Commons. But nevertheless, they could still get a suitable amount of stone. If you think about this area back then, it's hard to imagine it now because everything's all built up. But there were these outcroppings of ledge, and on top of the hills up in Paxton Park, if you go up there to this day, there's big boulders that were still up there. So the earliest method of quarrying the stone.
Back then, when you think of a quarry, you think of a big hole. But back then it wasn't quarry, it was all surface stones that they actually used for the King's Chapel and the early buildings in Boston. Those are the stones that came from this area here, the South Commons. You got to remember, the Laurentide ice sheet, 10,000 years ago, we had about a mile of ice on top of us. So when that thing receded or advanced, it moved all these boulders, these surface boulders along. And that's what they quarried back then. They actually weren't quarrying into ledges back then. They were using the surface boulders that were left after that ice glacier receded.
You can see this is a nice drawing that was done by Rebecca Ginsburg. You can see this is the method that they used in the colonial period up until about 1803. For some reason, it was a lost art that they didn't know how to split stone using wedges up until about 1803. It had been done before throughout the world, but it didn't catch on here until 1803. So here we are, they're building King's Chapel at 1749, that period of time. They wanted these blocks of stone. Great pictures that Sally took at King's Chapel. And you can see blocks of stone about this big, each one of them in the chapel, finely hammered, as you can see. What they would do it is they find this outcropping of stone or a big surface boulder that's laying on the ground. They would cut the trees down around it. They'd build a fire around it. After they heated the rock up, they would either throw cold water on it or they would throw cannonballs or drop a cannonball on it. The rock would be heated up. That would cause it to fracture into smaller pieces like you see here. After they got it down into these smaller pieces, you can pass this around too. They got it down into these smaller pieces that were probably the size of the back of this truck probably, okay, where I'm standing here. Then they would have to reduce it further into a size suitable for the building the chapel. They would use something like this. This is called the bull hammer. So what they would do is, of course, it would be a larger block of stone like this. They would use this. They would use another hammer on top of it. They would go along that. They would actually create a line across the road. And then they could break it. They would actually break the stone off. It's much smaller than they use, obviously. But you would get a surface like this, and it'd be breaking. It's broken off like that. Once they got down to that point, if you wanted to finish it, and you can see the finish on the stone here, it's not really smooth. It's still a little rough, but it's similar to this, a little bit smoother. They would use a hammer like this. And this is a simple peen hammer. Now this type of hammer was used up until about 1828. They used the same type of hammer for building the Bunker Hill Monument in 1826. It wasn't until 1828 that the patent bush hammer was developed that had multi-blades on it that they would still use today. But this hammer basically, they would, well, I'm not going to bang it, but they'd just be working the stone like this.